Mr. Mason-Mann.
Good morning, my fellow shareholders and to the board of directors. First of all, let me say you registrars and the people out there do an absolutely superb job.
Thank you.
It's like seeing family friends. Mr. Chairman, I know this is your last AGM. No wonder you're standing there with bated breath looking at me. You turned around and said last year, concerning the Monitor's report, it was just like one of your schoolboy reports. You must do better. The DOJ has just turned around and filed a report in the US with Judge Donnelly where they compliment you. And they say that you're doing everything good. The only problem is, I'd be careful and I'd look behind you very quickly now, sir, because the DOJ is kissing your rear end. And I wonder if their head is slipped and they're totally engaged with you and you'll have difficulty in sitting down. And will shareholders have to pay for the removal of this? Because the Monitor himself says that this bank is a failure under the Deferred Prosecution Agreement. Your AML you will never achieve. Now, expanding on what some of the shareholders have stated here today, are you aware on the instructions of HSBC in Hong Kong that your lawyers in Hong Kong turned around and supplied false information to a court of law in Hong Kong to bankrupt an individual? Are you aware that the lawyers representing you in New York supplied false information to the court in New York here in the Monitor's case? Are you aware that HSBC Mortgage Services paid school taxes on an individual's property so that they could sell it illegally? Are you aware, and have you heard of, first of all, have you heard of a company called LSF9?
No.
And you haven't?
No.
Oh, really? Because in our letter to you of the 7th of January last year, we set out about LS9, and surely if Stuart Levy's around here, he should be able to update you, because I believe Joseph Schenker, the senior partner in the law firm in New York, informed you about the documentation and the evidence supplied to the court. My main concern is, like everybody here, you tell us that our establishment is complying with every law. Really? The House of Representatives report last year...
Is there a question coming?
Oh, yes. Okay. I've asked you 3 already.
Okay, well...
The House of Representatives report last year shows the interference of the Financial Services Authority in the criminal prosecution of HSBC. Let us look at little Georgie Osborne, shall we? And the amount of meetings that he had. Somebody said, are you political? You say no. Didn't we just pay over $50,000 to Georgie Osborne for his services? Because that's what's been declared, that he gave a speech or some form of services. Is BlackRock one of our leading shareholders? Because if they are, or they do hold a significant share, they've just employed a little Mr. George Osborne. The Tory government and its politicians refuse to prosecute you for what you've done, not only in this country, but in the US, the support of terrorism and finance. You say no, but it has been proven by the Levin Committee.
Is there a final last wrap-up question, and then I'll respond?
Well, in that case, have not you and Mr. Levy, through your time here, destroyed the reputation of HSBC around the world?
Okay, that's a question. I would say no. I would say that I, and more importantly, the colleagues around me, have worked assiduously through all our time to protect, preserve, restore the reputation. We have been very open in acknowledging that events have happened in the past that are regrettable, many of which, most of which, were not events that we were directly, personally responsible for, but which we take collective responsibility as part of the management team. We can't change history, we can only respond to it, and I think that's what we've been doing. So I don't recognise your final characterisation. On the specific questions, without detail, but even with the detail, I would not be able to respond in terms of your interpretation of what our lawyers in Hong Kong or America have done. I'm pretty certain, though, knowing the integrity of our legal department, they will not have supplied false information to any court for any particular purpose. And I can only say again, we are not a politicised organisation. It's on the public record that we asked George Osborne to make a speech at Davos for a number of our customers, talking about the situation in global geopolitics, which he did very well, and he gets paid for making these speeches now wherever he makes them. So I'm not ashamed of that either. So I disagree, I guess, with your final comment, and I can't comment on the detailed questions you asked earlier. As regards the monitor, and it's the final thing I'll say, the monitor's there to challenge us, and he does. He points out where we can do better. He also recognises when we've done good things and when we've made great progress, and both are true. We have done a lot of very good things. We are making a great deal of progress, but it's a challenging area to retrospectively gather all the information that one would hope to have today and put it into modern systems to explore the possibility that there is financial crime being conducted of which we are a conduit innocently and inadvertently. But that is something we and everyone else in our industry is working to do a better job on. I think we'll succeed. I think our industry will succeed, but it's a challenging area. But we're doing everything that we can possibly do with his oversight and with the oversight of the US court at the moment, and more importantly, our regulators, to make that better. So thank you for your question.
Mr. Chairman, you've
had a question, Mr.
No,
Mayor.
you've not turned around and spoke about LSF9, because let me help clarify the point.
No, I think
you've received the letter for it. Your own lawyers in New York were turned around and they were the registration lawyers for LSF5 with the SEC.
No.
You say you've not heard of LSF9, but you have engaged in business through HSBC Mortgage Services. You say that you've improved everything. The monitor has refused for 2 years.
We have 50 million customers, Mr. Mason-Wan. You think it's a...
You've been sent personal information to your personal email address, or did that get lost? Or perhaps you can't remember. Your behaviour here is disgraceful.
Can we move on? Let's take this after the meeting, Mr. Mason-Wan.
Has the monitor refused to sign off for the last 2 years that you are complying with the deferred prosecution agreement? Yes or no?
You know perfectly well that there are aspects of the...
Yes or no, Mr. Chairman? Tell the truth for once.
I'm not going to... I tell the truth all the time, Mr. Mason-Wan. The monitor...
Has the monitor refused to sign off for the last 2 years?
Yes, and it's been in our annual report and accounts publicly disclosed, and he's got specific aspects that he's required to sign off, and he doesn't say he can't sign off, he said he's not in a position at this stage. And I resent the fact that you say that we're not truthful, because both those facts were included in the annual report and accounts for this year and last year, publicly stated in our accounts that he didn't do that. So there's no revelation. And it's a public document, so does everyone else who wants to get it. Mr. Farmer.